call this meeting to order. Everybody should have received the minutes by email. If we can review those, and while we're reviewing those, I'm going to pass around the sign-up sheet. Just sign your name. Pass it on to the next person. Did everybody get a chance to review the minutes, or do we need more time? I have a motion on the floor to accept the minutes.
Second.
You good? Any further discussion? Any corrections? Any changes? All in favor of accepting the motion? Accept the minutes from 2024, May 1st of 2024. Say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Carefully, I'm Bruno.
Don't they ever oppose these things?
I know. Got to check it. Checks and balance, right?
Right.
All right. All right, we'll move along. This is a budget year for our grants, our CCA grants. So it's a 2-year budget year, so we do have to approve the funding. The funding this year, from what we're told right now, is flatline. Meaning you expect the same amount you received the last 2 years. So I think everybody's received, there's a budget page. Really the last page is what we're talking about on the current budget. And with the current budget, it's going to be the same amount we received last year, was $1,179,947. Now, in fiscal year 2024-25, the last budget, we actually started off, our proposal was $1,123,744. This is the first time in my career that the state has ever increased our grant by saying a cost of living. They've increased programs, but they never agreed to a cost of living. So last year, or last 2 years, we received a $56,187 increase. And I think NeoCat did the same as well. Did you guys receive an increase on your grant? We are coming in now with the grant at $1,179,947. In there, you can see our personnel cost is $933,439. That is total. That's everything from salaries to benefits to PERS and so forth. That's over a 2-year period. The general operating cost is $89,441. GPS monitoring for a 2-year period is $80,080. Treatment services, which include our aftercare, our relapse program, decision points, that comes in at $54,400. And then equipment costs, supplies, those kind of things comes in at $22,588. So that is the proposed budget we're submitting to the state on the amount that they're offering for the grant. Now, there is conversation about possible increase. We won't know that until July 1st when the state passes the budget. And then the reason why there's increased funding there, it's not like the legislation said, here, put more money into CCA programs. It's the state doesn't know how many programs are going to participate and not participate. So when they don't participate, they then put that money back into the other programs. So that's what we don't know. So, motion on the floor to accept the proposed budget for fiscal year 2026-2027. The Trevitt, second. Clint. Any discussion? No? Or Sheriff, any discussion?
My baby.
Just like a restaurant. How's your food, sir? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right. Let's talk about programming themselves. You should have received in your packet FY 2023, and I think that was probably reviewed sometime at the last Corrections Board meeting. This is the, that way, this way. This is the annual report for FY 2024. And there it talks about the programs. I'm not going to read this to you. I'm not going to go over it really too much. But it's everything from our... Let me backtrack a little bit. years past, we've talked about prison diversion dollars, we've talked about jail diversion dollars. The state's cleaned it up now and calls it 900 program and 950 program. 900 program is any type of supervision. Doesn't matter if it's felony supervision, doesn't matter if it's misdemeanor supervision, doesn't matter if it's treatment and lieu supervision. So we're all under the same cost category. Any type of programming, standalone programming like GPS, aftercare, domestic violence, decision points, that's under 950 program. So it's great that they now have separated, so that way we keep our costs separate from personnel from programs. And so in this annual report, you'll see 900 programs, which is the supervision type, paying for the officer to supervise certain type of offenders, whether it's treatment and lieu offenders, high-risk offenders, low-risk offenders. And then if you turn towards the end of the report, it actually talks about the 950 programs, which are the drug and alcohol, which is our aftercare program. For those that aren't familiar with our aftercare program, it's for anybody that comes out of jail treatment program or NeoCap, and they do not have insurance. We will pay for their aftercare services. So that way there's not a stopgap in treatment, it's immediate, it's boom, it goes right away. And so that's what the idea behind that program. The next point is decision points. This is for standard common pleas folks. It's a 6 to 7 session program working on their cognitive thinking. We still have the transitional day reporting, so anybody that comes back from long-term treatment, long-term prison, anything like that that needs a transition back in the community, we have a program just for those folks to transition back in the community. Obviously, GPS monitoring is still the same. We're using what's now called OnTrack, which is the Lake Erie Interlock, former Lake Erie Interlock. They are now located in Euclid, but it's for sentenced folks, sentenced folks out of any of the courts. It's not for bond supervision, although we have used it for bond supervision when we've had to spend down money. This year we're right on target with our money. We should be okay. Last is anger management. We fell short in anger management this year because we had to renegotiate our contract with Signature Health. And so we were actually down for about 6 months working on the contract, getting our prosecutors to agree to it, and so forth, going back and forth. That program started back up again in January this year, and so it's up and running. The reason why is it had some changes in the program. Before we just ran a domestic violence class. One size fits all. Put your people in there, boom, plug them in, let's see how it works. That doesn't work very well when you're in a relationship. It's a different situation when you're in a relationship and you're creating violence versus I'm cohabitating and creating violence. And so they really wanted to separate the two in that curriculum. So there's one track for people that are in relationships that's creating violence versus another track for just people that are angry and, let's say, road rage or something on those kind of lines. So there's two separate tracks, so we had to kind of negotiate how are we doing that. Same philosophy, if they don't have insurance, we are paying for that.
Hey Craig,
Yes.
what's the prospect of having a decision points for the females? Because there's a lot of them. I mean, it's kind of frustrating that it's needed, but not available.
So with any group, it's more effective to have numbers. So to have 2 people in a group at any given time is not a very effective group. So the hard part with that is, you're absolutely correct. We have females that could participate in that program. Do we have enough females that would create a group of anywhere from 6 to 10 that would make the program more effective at the same time? I know over the course of a year we can meet some of those numbers, but it's hard to say at any given time would we have an effective group. Now, we could probably do something on the lines of, all right, we're going to create a women's group and we're going to do it 2 or 3 times a year. It's going to start on this date, and so we'll wait till we collect enough women and then create that group. We could do something on those lines. We just haven't done it yet. The idea, though, really is supervising women is a little different than supervising men. Women, it's either they're low risk or they're high risk. You don't find a lot of women that are moderate risk. And so when they're low risk, they really don't need that program. When they're high risk, they need a program similar to NeoCap, which is the Thinking for a Change. Now, with men, you will find them all the way across the spectrum, low, moderate, and high. And so this program is really just capturing the moderate men for this program. Now, if they're high, they would go to NeoCap. If they're low, obviously, they wouldn't need that program. So to capture enough women that meet the moderate range is very difficult.
So what then can be implemented to address? You just can't cast them out and let them float, because they're gonna sink.
Right.
I mean,
I don't know if I have an answer for you just because we don't have the population. We can try doing one, we can do one quarterly, we can do twice a year. The problem is you're waiting for a group to fill up. Have they violated before that group fills up?
I mean, what about changing the design of it to
Go ahead.
some programming that deals with less numbers? I mean, there's got to be something out there, because the answer back that there's nothing for them, either nothing or NeoCap, I mean, it just doesn't work. I mean, because all these people are hooked in with the drugs, right? And they make the stupid decisions before they take the drugs. So there's got to be a way to address that without having 6 to 10 in a constant rotation group. I mean, I don't know what it is. I'm just.
Right.
I mean, there's got to be somebody who's thought about this in the statewide, that there's got to be a way to address it.
Well, and believe it or not, they are addressing it. Kim could probably help me out with this as well. Your drug and alcohol programs over the last 5 years have really geared more towards CBT kind of thing. It's more of a thinking than it is addiction process and that kind of stuff. So all their programs are now geared to anything that's cognitive-based therapy. That's exactly what Decision Points is cognitive-based therapy program. So if you go into jail treatment program, you are getting cognitive-based therapy. If you go into any of the Lake Geogga or Signature Health or any of those programs, you are getting cognitive-based therapy included with your substance abuse. So to say they're not getting any of those services is probably false. Are they getting that direct curriculum like Decision Points? No. And we can look at that. I have no problem looking at that.
I mean, all of it's got to be cognitive-based therapy, because their thinking is screwed up. That's why they are where they are.
Exactly. That's the movement. Yeah. But I will definitely look into it. All right, and then that is the 2024 annual report. So like I said, I'm not going to go over every single detail of that. Then I have also with me, I have the proposed 2025. Obviously, we're not finished with 2025, so that's why I can't give you the final numbers on that. That will end June 30th. But this is the proposed prediction of where we're going to be as far as the numbers served, those kind of things. Likewise, I'm not going to go over that report, but there is one report that I am going to go over, and that is when we met 2 years ago, this board came up with a comprehensive plan as far as what direction are we moving as a correction system, are we hitting our target goals, are we not hitting our target goals. And so this is our target goals that we put on the grant, as well as the grant put on us as well. So we'll start off with Decision Points. The target population that we were to serve was 128. We're currently at 100. Our projection for June 30th will be 108. We'll have served that many people. Aftercare, our goal was 35. We'll have served 60. Supervision of anybody from ISP to first offenders, treatment in lieu. Our goal was 374 offenders. We will have achieved 427. First offenders, same thing, 58, 112. Domestic violence, that's the number I was telling you about, that we're short on 40 versus 12. And we're going to have that number probably changed in this year's grant, because we went from a track that was 12 weeks to a track that now, if they're domestic violence in a relationship, that's going to be 23 weeks. So obviously, it's more sessions, it's more cost. We can't afford that population at that cost. We can afford them, a few of those people to go through that thing, but we can't afford the total population. So our number is probably going to drop down to probably around 25 that we're projecting to do. The number 12 is also down because we were down for 6 months trying to negotiate the contract with Signature. And the last is GPS electronic monitoring. Our target goal was 120, we're at 102. We're just putting people on longer than and we're okay with that. We were averaging 18 days on GPS. Years past, we're now in the 30. So we're putting less people on, but for longer days. So we are kind of hitting that target there. Now, some of the goal rates that the state has set on us as far as this grant was, the first one was general goal number 1, which is the success rate of our programs. They wanted our programs to be anything exceeding 50%. Currently, right now, we are at 60.15%. So we are meeting that goal. Goal number 2 is admission rate. That's into any one of our programs. We had to be at 95%. Currently, the goal is 925. We're at 613. That's the end of the 3rd period, so I can't predict what we're going to do the 4th period. But we are on track there to meet that number, be right on target with that number. And then general goal number 3 was program standards will be scored only in the 4th quarter. That's just basically our audit. Did we pass our audit, so we won't know that until the end of the 4th quarter. And then finally goal number 1 is F4s and 5s going to prison. They set the number at 324 individuals going to prison. This means out of sentencing. And then currently at the end of the 3rd period, we're at 215 people that went to prison. 4s and 5s, non-violence. That is the target population. F3s, 2s, and 1s, it's open. If it's a violent offense, 4s, 5s, it's open. So these are F4s and 5s that are non-violent offenders.
Are those standalone 4s and 5s, or what if they have a 1 or a 2
No,
or a 3?
it's whatever the highest count is. So if they've got a 1, it goes by that. But you're right, standalone 4s or 5s. Felony goal number 2, prison commitments. With the number of felony cases that we enter into our system, so the felony courts enter in their number of felony cases that they have with the Supreme Court. The goal is to be below 24.27%, meaning the number of cases that we have versus the number of cases we send to prison. So they wanted us to be below 24.27%. We're at 19.25%. So we're meeting that target. Same category, 4s, 5s, non-violent offenders. Felony goal number 3, prison commitment rate, comparison to our county population rate. Okay, so they're going around now and saying, all right, what's your county population? Does that equate to the number of people in prison, or are you exceeding that number? And so they wanted us to be below 16.26%. We are currently standing at 20.87%. Easy argument to make here. 35% of our caseload is coming out of Cuyahoga County. They're not even Lake County residents. So if you counted Lake County residents, we are definitely within target range. These are non-county residents, and I'm sure Willoughby Court's seeing a lot of this as well. Cuyahoga County residents coming here.
So what's their,
Cuyahoga and all over northeastern Ohio.
Sure.
so what's their then, what's their expected reaction to the 20.87 when they wanted to be 16.26?
That's not a conversation I've had yet.
What do you expect?
I've been tracking Lake County residents only, so I'm willing to make that argument with them.
I know, but why do they have these numbers? And what's the stated purpose for having those numbers? And then what's the consequence for not meeting those numbers?
They're really trying to clean up the grant for programs that aren't excelling. And so the goal is, if their agency has not met any of these goals, their grants are going to be reduced. Obviously, programs that are meeting all their goals, their grants are going to be increased.
Well, you can play around with these numbers any way you want, right? I mean, like you're talking about, you're gonna tell them it really isn't 20.26, it's 15.4.
Right.
Because
These are Lake County residents.
But it can't be lost on them that the boundaries don't really mean anything. The county lines don't mean anything, right? So I guess overall, what's the point?
I'm arguing that quite a bit. What's the point? A lot of things the state do. Yes. And I don't know how much weight that goal has. I think it's totality. They're comparing, all right, what did you do Supreme Court wise? What did you do county population wise? Are you within that range? How can we be within that range on the number we enter into the Supreme Court versus the number we have per county.
So this goes back to really what you said a little bit earlier about some of the programming, that with the domestic violence and the different interrelationship or outer relationship, one size doesn't fit all, right?
Correct.
So now they're putting out these statewide numbers that really don't mean anything under the guise that one size fits all. Aren't they doing exactly what they claim not to be doing?
Yeah.
Jeffrey?
All right. Felony goal number 4, probation violations. So this is not talking about sentencing, this is probation violations, sentenced to prison. They want our goal to be under 46. We are currently at 36. Same thing. 4 is 5, non-violent, that are on probation. How many of those violated and went back to prison? Felony goal number 5, probation violator sentenced to prison versus county population. So here we go again. We're comparing our violations by the population size of our county. We are down in that number. 44 is the number they want us to be below. We're at 36. And then felony goal number 6, judicial releases. How many did we grant? They wanted us to grant 20 judicial releases in a 2-year period. We are currently at 16. So that was our target. So we are on target with exception to the county population.
Can I ask a question
Sure.
about these numbers up here? You have supervision goal 374, achieve 427. What is that? Is that general supervision? Is that the number of people that you supervise on probation?
No, so this is just for the program. So this grant pays for high-risk officers. So it pays for 4 high-risk officers, and then it pays for 1 standard probation officer who does the treatment in lieu, intervention in lieu,
Okay.
first offenders. So it's paying for 5 officers.
So 5 officers supervise 427 people.
4 officers supervise 427, 1 officer supervises the 112. That's over a 2-year period.
Those numbers.
Yep. Because this grant's a 2-year period.
Okay, and then the domestic violence, the electronic monitoring, those fall underneath, correct? So like someone who is on supervision and being supervised here, that's just something that's offered, the electronic monitoring is part of the supervision, right? Or is that completely separate?
Completely separate.
Okay,
Because the GPS, give you an example, can be used in all muni courts and common pleas courts. Supervision can only be used in the common pleas court.
and when you say that, when you say supervision, you're just talking about,
The salary of an officer,
okay,
yes. Benefits, salary, all those kind of things.
so there's never overlap between someone on supervision and someone in a domestic violence program?
Sure, oh, sure.
Someone in using electronic monitoring, correct?
Sure.
Those fall underneath that in some cases, right?
Yes, you're absolutely
Okay,
correct. So like someone
okay.
could be on intensive supervision and
Yes.
receive aftercare services.
Yes.
And we're capturing that as well.
Okay, okay.
So I'm not capturing clients, I'm not catching individual people, I'm catching admission. So how many admissions do we have into that program? So you're absolutely correct. One person could be admitted to 2 separate programs, so that's 2 admissions.
So in 2 years, you had 12 people go into a domestic violence program?
Correct. Then we were shut down for 6 months because of negotiating that contract.
Yes, but even aftercare, 60 individuals over a 2-year period.
Right, so
30.
that's not the total population of aftercare programs. So that's the people that have no insurance. We are now picking up the tab. So there's quite a few people going to aftercare
That pay?
that are paid for under insurance, Medicaid, Medicare, whatever it
How-
may
I
be.
mean, what is that percentage? I mean, of people that you supervise on probation, there has to be a significant number that don't have insurance. I mean, I hear that,
I would probably say 20% we're paying, that comes out of
That's
jail.
it?
Yeah, that's it.
I'm shocked. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, Medicaid and Medicare is fabulous right now. I mean, when I started my career, no one was eligible. And that's why we created these programs, because we kept hearing the story, I have no insurance, I have no insurance, I can't afford the sliding scale. Let's use some of these grant dollars, let's create a program so these people, we can take that hurdle out of the equation. And that's kind of what we're still doing. If they have no insurance, they can't afford it, we take that hurdle out of the equation.
It would be interesting to look at the number of folks on expansion.
Right.
Because if and when that goes away, the number of folks who are going to roll back onto you is going to skyrocket.
Absolutely correct. So, you've now received the annual report for FY23, FY24, the projections for FY 2025. You've received our target goals for FY24 and 25. We have a motion on the floor to accept the reports. Mr. De Leon, second?
Second.
Any further discussions, questions, comments, concerns? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. All right, is there a need to talk about vendors? We're good?
Meaning care providers?
Care providers. Current care providers, I should say.
Yeah, I've not had a lot of success with Signature Health.
Jason.
I have more success with Lake Health than Signature Health.
And so when you're saying success, you're talking about
Attention.
placement or?
Attention to the client, and service to the client.
Okay.
It's always been a problem. I mean, they seem like they're too big, too spread out, and I just don't think they do a good job overall. But that's my 2 cents.
What I'd like to do is meet with you, Judge, and nail down some of those points, and then maybe Kim and you and I can then meet with these agencies and go around and kind of do some
Absolutely, yeah.
discussion there.
Yeah.
And see,
So-
maybe if you can meet with all the.
Right, exactly.
Judges.
Yeah. So if you guys don't mind writing down your concerns right now, then I'll meet with you, and then I can kind of nail some of those out. And then we get, where's Yvonne? You get back with your judge on that?
And the continued use of video versus in person is, to me, a complete waste of time. It's completely ineffectual.
And that, you're talking, not case manager, you're talking about for individual counseling.
I'm talking about counseling, I'm talking about these AA meetings and all that stuff. I mean, they just sit there on a computer, and I think it's, unless you're sitting there in the room, it ain't the same.
Well, they're missing the objective, and that's network. Building a support system.
Sometimes the networking is bad at AA meetings, but
That's the back row of the AA meeting.
But still, the counseling by video is
So we'll talk about that.
Yeah,
So
a waste of time.
All right.
I agree with John on that point. During COVID, for my drug court, I made sure that I had contact with the folks. I did the telephone with them, and we had more regression than we ever did. And they were saying, boy, this is great. I could talk to you, Judge, and I'm not in front of the whole group, and I could really just talk to you. And I thought, oh boy, this is great. And they did horrible. They need to see it. I agree.
So, judges, start writing up a list, and then I'll meet with each one of you and tell me your concerns, and Kim and I will then get together and then address it. Okay?
Do we know what's going on with Crossroads?
That'll be a new business. We'll discuss that. So, but put it at the end so you can't scoot out of here early.
John specifically or anybody?
Anybody. All right.
I have about 100
He's got a docket waiting.
Yeah, I have about 100 people waiting for me in traffic court. Because of that guy, it's his fault.
That's good on my part.
Yes.
Getting over there.
Have you been on Route 2? Yeah.
All right, I will now move on with jail report, and then after jail report, we'll go with new jail update. So, Captain?
We won't keep you, we won't go too long with the jail report, so we don't have people waiting. Jail's been really busy this past year, 2024, increase of 392 inmates. We had 4,582 inmates in the facility last year. So our highest daily average was 324 inmates. In May of 2023, our highest was 319. So overall average for the year was about 300. Currently, past couple weeks, we've been at about 350, averaging about 350 a day. This morning we're at 348. month prior, we were between 330, 340, and it's increasing. So we're getting back to our pre-COVID numbers, which is good for business, I suppose. Currently, we've got 13 inmates sentenced to prison. We still have more than 2/3 felon and 1/3 misdemeanor inmates. So, work release last year, we had 47 inmates that participated, generated about $27,000. The year before, we had 55 inmates that participated. So there was a decrease in work release. Food service, we had 364,000 meals, a little more than 364,000 meals served in 2024. Dispensary operations, we had 10,658 inmates that were seen by the medical staff. That's an increase from 529 in 2023. We still have a dentist that comes in twice a month, prescriber comes in from Crossroads, Kim Sanders twice a week. We do have a doctor that's in 3 days and a PA that's in 1 day throughout the week. So the inmates are getting medical services. We did get reimbursed through the psychotropic drug reimbursement for the first half. Last year we got $110,000 back for drugs, and the second half for the decrease we only got almost $67,000 back. So mental health, we did have a little bit more than 3,100 referrals in 2024, and we renewed our licensure to be compliant with continued care for Suboxone with the substance stabilization program. They've screened 312 inmates for possible opioid withdrawal. So we are fully staffed currently. I'm pretty proud of that. The staff is really young and eager. They're doing a great job. So, anything there?
No, as far as our staffing, we go all over the place. The jails are suffering with these staffing problems. And Chief Bizzo and Sheriff Lee Bruno, through leadership and us working hard in the jail, we've created a culture where people want to work there, and these young officers are excited about learning this profession. So we're pretty excited with the future going forward. So.
Can you track out-of-county residents?
Yeah.
Sentenced folks in jail that are sentenced in our county, whether it's felony or misdemeanor, but they're non-residents. Because I know you asked the question, are you a Lake County resident?
Yep.
And I don't think we need to be specific and say what county are you residing in, but I think that's going to help with our argument down the road.
So we get those numbers.
Couple issues we're facing. We have the design of the jail is 353 beds. We got a variance in 2010 when we closed the men's security jail to add 60 beds. And every year we have to get that variance approved. They're no longer going to approve variances. So we will be out of compliance because we have 350 Lake County inmates, Lake County court inmates. We have 3 Marshall inmates for billing. So our jail will be out of compliance. I'm afraid we're going to have to build a new jail. Following on that, our court services division has been highly impacted by the change in medical needs of the inmate population, mental health needs of the population. Last year we had 420 some inmates that were either taken to the hospital, to medical appointments. I think 195 of those inmates, around that number of the 400, were ER admissions taken to the hospital. Friday night, we had 3 inmates to be admitted to the hospital. we're having problems, I think, covering them in terms of our court service deputies. And because they're in the courts, they're either managing the doors or managing trials, transports back and forth to prisons. So it's a very active division. So that's something that we've seen a huge change in. When I started in 1993 and 1989, we had a very large court services division of 3 people. So it's a huge division today, and I don't see a big change going backwards. Do you, Chief?
I like to just add, we appreciate all the courts work with us pretty well on getting inmates for a load that we can for a load. But to touch on the sheriff's example, we had 3 that this past weekend that we knew we just couldn't, whether they're weapons charges, F2s, prior escapes, all these things. And we don't even call them because we know that we shouldn't even be asking for a load. So we appreciate the help, but we're sometimes overwhelmed even with those that we know that we need to be with and have somebody sitting on. But
we are trying to change our medical program, because it's not computerized in terms of inmate charting. So we're working with University Hospitals to change that. Should be up and running by maybe September with managing that. But then we're hoping to transition more and more to working with UH in terms of managing some of that health care. We do have a great doctor, Dr. Don Spanner, who runs all the ERs for UH, but he is the doctor at our jail, spends about 20 hours a week there. And Gina Stutzman is our physician's assistant who manages the other part of that medical care, doing a great job. But that's a problem that we see on the rise.
You mentioned earlier compliance.
Well, it's the Ohio State minimum jail standards requires so much spacing per inmate, per cell, so much lighting, so much, all those variances. The variance that was given said we can put 2 inmates in the cell that's not really large enough for 2 inmates. And so they said they're not going to give those variances anymore.
Who?
The state of Ohio, the Department of Corrections.
Why did they do that?
There's a new chief that took over down there, and he's kind of raising standards a little bit. So,
Yeah.
So what are they gonna do? What are they gonna do when they're gonna send somebody up to check that there's 2 in a cell? It's too small, and then what are they gonna do?
Well, they'll say we're out of compliance.
And then what are they gonna do?
They won't do anything, okay? They're saying we're out of compliance, but here's what becomes problematic. Is if something happens in that cell, inmates sue us. And when they sue us, they point to the minimum jail standards that we were forced people to be in a space that created violence. I mean, all of it is based on litigation.
How many county jails are gonna be out of compliance now? They must know that answer, right? Before they implemented this?
I do not know that answer. I would imagine currently, or a year ago, that would be fine because all jails were down in population from COVID. But we knew the transition of violating probation and all the other things that are on the rise that is coming. I would say by next year there would be probably at least 20% of the jails in Ohio out of compliance.
So why are they doing this?
I can't tell you.
Does anybody know the answer to that?
I don't know why.
Who knows the answer to that, I guess? Somebody down there
The head of
that sits there in an office and
Right.
implements things without the knowledge of what's going on must have an answer, right?
I agree. I wish I could tell you. The good news is we are building a new jail.
I mean, Judge, the only change that we know of that would not allow us to get this variance is the chief down there at the ODRC.
Okay, but.
The guys doing the inspections are the same, they don't really know when we
So
talk
you have
about-
Ohio standards right now. He's trying to get them to, what is it, the ACC standard? He's trying to,
He wants some more.
American Correctional Association.
which are a little
Why?
More.
Why?
up to bar. I think he's trying to put his stamp on it. I mean, he's a friendly guy, we work well with him. We work really well with our inspector, so we're not really worried about it, but we're gonna get dinged. We think they're gonna come in and ding us.
Personally, I don't agree with the American Correctional Association standards, and the reason why is because it puts on requirements that are very strict, and it uses more never, cannot. When you use absolute language, it really makes it tough in terms of litigation on a correctional facility.
When does the current variance run out?
It gets renewed every year.
We'll submit
So
it.
when, like,
So
We'll submit it in June.
Yeah.
They'll go down there, and then
Okay.
when they do our jail inspection in August, that's kind of when we get the answer. They reply back to us.
okay.
Okay, so what does 353 mean? What's it going to reduce?
353, there's 353 beds.
I know that, but what's it going to be reduced to because of this genius in Columbus?
No, that's what it will be, is 353.
Okay.
The problem is when, really, currently, we have some people that aren't in cells. Or they are in cells, they're double bunked. In a 353 bed jail, if you were to use it right now, we would have probably 18 to 25 people sleeping on the floor. Because you can't put males with females, you can't put some of the severely mentally ill with some of the other inmates, so you can't really fill every bed in a 353 bed jail.
So are we going to get like weekly reports from now on to say how many people you have and how many people were permitted to send to jail? Is that how this is going to work now?
No.
Then
We will
how are we going
continue-
to, then
we will-
how are we going to keep you in compliance with the guy in Columbus if we
We'll
don't
be out
know
of
what numbers are
compliance.
there?
And my argument to the state, you're absolutely right, we're out of compliance, but
Okay.
we're building a new
So
jail.
what's the ramifications when they find we're out of compliance? What have they said are going to be the penalty when we're out of compliance? When
There is
you're out
no
of compliance?
financial penalty, there is
What?
no, it's just a continual statement. There are some jails, Judge, in Ohio that have been out of compliance with the Ohio minimum jail standards for the past 30 years.
Okay.
Because they're too old and weren't built properly, and there's changes that are coming
All
to
right,
those.
so there's a new regulation without any penalty for violation of the
That's
regulation.
correct.
Until they decide that there's going to be a penalty. So what is set forth in their regulations that if you're out of compliance, here's what the penalty is?
Depending on how bad you're out of compliance, the way they force the hand is this: they come in and find you 40 different things you're not in compliance with. They report that to the insurance carrier, and then they raise the deductible.
Why are they reporting that to the insurance
Because
company?
that's how they force the hand of the county commissioners.
All right.
And
So-
that forces us to work to get into
All right,
compliance.
that's complete bullshit, okay? If they say you're out of compliance, then they should bring you into compliance. So they're passing a regulation that says you gotta comply with this, and they don't bother to set forth what the ramifications are, what the penalty is if you don't comply with it? Is that what I'm hearing? Okay, so how are we gonna find out the answer to this? And why they're doing it like that?
Well, we're gonna wait, first of all, for
Yeah,
them.
but wait for what? Wait till you're out of compliance and then they penalize you for some penalty you did not know about when you were in compliance?
All I can tell you, Judge, is what we're hearing in terms of the variances.
Okay.
We have not applied for our variance for the year.
I know, Frank, but there's gotta be, this seems completely ill thought out on their part. That they're telling you, here's the new regulation. And there's no ramification to if you don't meet the regulation. Isn't that completely stupid?
Well, you're absolutely, it says,
So
Greg said,
who's got the
the
answer to this?
state of Ohio does not make
Okay.
sense on a lot of things that they
See,
do.
so there's really nobody to talk to. It's just a regulation appears in some page of the correctional, whoever runs that place, okay? And this is what you got to do. There's nobody to talk to. There's nobody that has an answer to these things. I mean, is it DeWine? Who is it? Is it Trestle? I mean, who's got the answer to these questions? Because this is Class A stupid.
How many beds are going to be in the new jail?
504.
And so when we're going to be, what is our opening day for that?
This is scheduled to be physically completed by the spring of 27 and move in by summer of 27.
So it'll be an 18-month to 2-year
Yes.
gap.
Yes.
Okay. So,
To give you an example, Cleveland has been over their population for Cuyahoga County's been over their population for how many years?
Since 1995.
And they're still permitted to run that facility. They get sued all the time. It's what it is to them. And that's it. They just continue operating in this manner. The jail was built for 353. We got the variance to go to 412.
I mean, I'm
15 years ago.
not opposed to
And there's
what they're
no
doing,
rhyme or
but
reason.
let's have some sort of plan. It's not us I'm talking about the state, some sort of plan on how that's going to be rectified. Because if they're not going to enforce it, then it's not a regulation.
We just don't get 100 on our report card and then do our inspection.
Which means what?
It means that we can't report that we got 100.
Okay, which means what?
As I said,
Report to who?
it affects us,
We got a inspection.
in terms of litigation.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's the only effect it has.
Yeah.
So they set counties up to get dinged in litigation because of language.
Will they give you a period of time to comply since it's new?
I would imagine.
Nobody knows, John, because they don't have any regulations that say that.
of the current jail population, how many of those individuals are pre-conviction on bond? Can't make bond payments roughly, do you know?
I would say less than 20%.
Yeah.
Probably closer to 15 to 10. Our population has shifted from 2/3 misdemeanors and 1/3 felons to 2/3 felons. The Lake County courts have been exceptional in terms of getting people out of jail who really should be out on bond, who should not be sitting in that jail facility, other than serving sentence.
So the majority, you'd say 85% that are in are serving a sentence or on a probation violation?
Or awaiting trial,
So pre-conviction,
yes,
okay.
but not pre-conviction of a DUI,
Oh, about,
You know.
yes, I understand. Okay.
Any further discussion? Jason, you ready?
Just make sure Judge O'Donnell got all his questions out, so I don't have
Can you ask the question why?
Why do you do that?
Good morning, thank you for the opportunity. Sheriff and team, if I missed something, tell me to stop or regroup. Just a quick update on where we're at with the Lake County Sheriff's Office. This is a webcam provided by our contractor, which is Gilbane. They're our design build lead. For anyone asks, I cannot give this out. They had this for a multitude of reasons, obviously tracking the work, security, quality control, etc. So there's only a handful of us beyond the Gilbane team that have access to that. That being said, if there's ever an interest down the road to tour the site, it's pretty cool. I can talk to Gilbane. I think Judge O'Donnell, we have been on site a few times. If you're interested, let me know. We can schedule that. Be prepared to put on your Halloween costume because safety is priorities 1, 2, and 3 for Gilbane. It's the hard hat, steel toes, etc. Just the status of where we are to date. On the bottom of the screen is Erie Street. The sheriff's office is directly across the street. Good news, everything is on schedule. Everything is trending according to budget. Just some geography, Judge DeLeon Court is right here. This is the temporary drive that the judge's employees have graciously been kind of working through some So not ideal situation, so I've had a lot of conversations with the judge. While I'm on that topic, we're going to go ahead and fast track the juvenile court parking from the end of the project to beginning in about 2 weeks. So we're going to, you'll see a new parking lot coming in on the backside off of Jackson Street, and then the upper lot, etc. Will be completely redone, about a 6 to 8 week project. So we will hopefully take away a good bit of the heartburn for juvenile court employees and our visitors. Top right is the buildings and grounds shop. So right now, what you're seeing is all of the footers are essentially have been poured. I think they're about 80% done with all of the footer work. These foundation walls, which if you've taken a walker, I think these got to be 18, 20 feet tall. I don't know the height. So they did a pour yesterday. This would be the side closest to juvenile court, and then they'll start wrapping the corner for the foundation walls. This work, the foundation walls work will go until about June. We'll wrap the entire facility. In the middle is the secure elevator shafts that are going up. On the right, the concrete that you see that they started at is a stairwell. That'll be the employee entrance to the sheriff's office on what we're calling level 0, which is the basement. And there'll be another stairwell over on this side. The Sally Port, can't really see it here. Folks, I think, Sheriff, you've determined traffic will come off of Jackson. They'll enter into the Sally Port, which has 5 parking spots-ish. So we will not have the buildup of traffic that you'll see on Erie Street traditionally on a Monday, where we have local PDs that are waiting to get into Sally Port. Not only will there be stacking inside of the Sally Port, there'll be plenty of circulation room within the parking lots. The top portion will all be secure parking for sheriff's folks. Way over here, there'll be secure parking. There's about 98 spots for sheriff employees. And then along Erie Street, where the Burger King used to be, there'll be a brand new public parking lot there. And then wrapping around the corner where the county acquired all those properties, we'll probably just grass that for the time being and monitor our parking needs. Ultimately, the current facility will come down, and that'll net us about 111 spots. We've got some strategies there for another project, so more to come on that. Timelines or key points: by October 1st, you should see a 4-story steel structure out of the ground. Steel has been purchased. I think we escaped the tariff issue on that, which really wouldn't have mattered because it was made in the USA. Our steel cells are being fabricated in the United States, so that's a plus on multiple fronts. All of our products have been ordered. Our generators we pre-ordered, 3 months ago-ish. Our elevator, all of our key equipment is on order and tracking accordingly. Any roadblocks? So far so good, the exception of last week we hit, you can see here, some water. That's another elevator shaft we hit what we think might be an old well, so we've had ODNR out there looking at the site. So we've got a plan of attack to remedy that. And once we officially get out of the ground, and we were so damn close, a lot of our uncertainties will go away, and we'll be able to reduce our owner-held contingency and construction-held contingency. But all in all, Gilbane has been great. We're tracking well. The contractors, there's probably at any given point, probably 25 guys and gals out there working. This crane will be on site up until steel is up through October. I'm trying to think what else. Sheriff, did I miss anything on the construction side?
No, sir.
I meet every Wednesday with the team. Every other Wednesday, including today, the entire team gets together with the sheriff and his team to go over. We're to the point now, I think you guys are picking out door hardware on cabinets. I mean, we've made it all the way through the large decision point items, and I believe interior stuff has been ordered or will be ordered shortly, furniture, etc. Looking at a spring, the sheriff noted this, spring completion date, and an occupancy. I'll leave that to the sheriff and his team when we start to get trained up in the building and move folks over. 503 beds. The goal from day one for the commissioners and the sheriff is to be staff neutral, and the one way we do that is the utilization of technology. I forget how many hundreds of cameras will be inside this building, on the outside of this building, etc. The entire site, including the juvenile court parking, will be under a secure 8-foot fence, and that will go all the way past B&G. We do have a purchase agreement for that final home on Jackson Street, waiting to work through some issues on the title. It will go past B&G. There is a sheriff's garage. It's on the other side of that home, if you can visualize where that is. For some sheriff ancillary uses, the fence will go all the way down and wrap coming back here. You will only be able to get in that secure parking with an access control mechanism, and that will include Judge Daly owns employees that are going to park in the rear portion. And I believe we're talking about some of the fencing options today in our 9 o'clock judge.
Thank
so we'll be moving on that. With that being said, that's time for judge's questions.
I just wanted to say thank you for you and the sheriff and the chief have really kept us in the loop so we can prepare our staff, especially with the moving of the parking lot. We got our people ready to go with, thank you for that map with highlighting where they can park.
Yep.
Judge O'Donnell was asking, can we remove that telephone pole? It's like right in the middle.
Well, funny you should say that. We are currently, this is a need to versus nice to. We are working with the city to figure out if we can piggyback on an electrical engineering contract to bury those lines. We're trying to get we've got this beautiful new facility and this facade, so y'all see this wall in real time. Imagine we have I don't have an image of it. We've got the entire front facade has that, I'll call it a porch that protrudes out, and then we have the steps, because this will be up off a grade. I think it's about 12 feet on what I learned is called a plinth. You know, so the structure similar to the main courthouse will be an elevated rise. My point being is these are going to be right there. So if we can figure out a way to partner with the city and bury these lines, priority 1, and or relocate them, option 2 across the street. So we're looking at that right now and looking to get a budget number on what that would take. I know a little bit about this, but this is a great picture. All these lines belong to somebody. Obviously, they're Painesville City assets, but you've got power, you've got fiber, you've got Spectrum, you've got down the line. So there's a lot of logistics and moving parts to making that happen. But if we do that, it'll go corner to corner based on some wishes of the city. Thanks.
Thank you, Jake. Wants to go first?
Okay. All right. We continue to have a veterans treatment docket. Our certification was renewed, I believe, last year, so it's a 3-year cycle. We had 3 graduates of the program last year. We have 7 current participants in the program, and we received grant funding for this program from the Ohio Mental Health and Addiction Services group, and really what it's utilized for is short-term housing, transportation, drug screens. Last year we've actually had 2 homeless veterans enter the program, and that has been very helpful in being able to stabilize our housing situation. We were able to provide short-term housing for one family in particular. We help with utility bills. We've researched ways that we can really support the veteran in a whole, in whole. So we're working on some new projects. For our mentors, we've researched how we can maybe provide service animals for our veterans on the docket, and researching alternative therapies. So it's going well. I want to remind everyone in the jail that you can also make referrals. I know we now have a system in place where we have really great communication with some of our contacts in the jail through the VA and the court, and you are now tracking, you've been tracking, but we're able to provide that information to us on who has military service. But just to remind all of you that you can refer people if you identify someone as a veteran, and that also goes for law enforcement in general. I mean, we take referrals from police officers, corrections, attorneys, the public defender's office. So anyone can be referred, and that's through really anyone in the court, but our chief probation officer, Lou Denny, coordinates the docket. So yes.
What is your target population that you're trying to serve? Do you have a number?
We don't have a number, and they don't provide that to us. Maybe, I'm not sure if you have that. They've never given us anything in terms of you have to have X number of participants in the program. I mean, we provide monthly reporting to the Ohio Supreme Court, and then obviously regarding the grant usage. So we don't, not with this docket.
So you're saying the state's staying out of it?
I didn't say that. I did not say that. But they have not given us.
Why is it you don't know who from the state?
Well, I do
Not
know.
going to criticize your program. Who's the person?
The directive from the Ohio Supreme Court, they're very, they want courts to have specialized dockets, whether that's the mental health docket, the drug docket, the veterans court. And so they really work with all of us to provide this to individuals who need help. So they haven't put those, maybe it's coming. I don't have them yet. Have you ever been told a number you have to have?
I have a number.
Well, you have your own, but they've never come in and said no.
Are you in compliance?
I'm a damn compliant.
Okay.
You know, I feel like I'm an ordinary person surrounded by extraordinary people. I've always felt that way, and I feel that way about this group, law enforcement, sheriff, chief, been wonderful to us, prosecutor's office, public defender, Adams Board, Kim Fraser, we're fortunate to have you. Thank you for all that you do. The group does what you do. Especially, shout out to Jason. Jason, he does all this stuff. You guys don't know, I had a funding situation, and he's helping us with that, so he's very, very special. Thank you for what you do. With us, in mental health court, I think one of the things, I have a staffing team. You know who the smartest guy in the room is, besides O'Donnell? The smartest guy in the room is the guy that knows he isn't the smartest guy in the room. So I surround myself with a staffing team, because like in mental health and drug court, I don't know all the answers. I'm the legal guy. But you know, when it comes to, is it schizophrenic or bipolar, what medications do you need, I need people to help me. So I've been very blessed to have that in the different organizations that help us. In mental health court, I asked around, what do we need? And we need a peer support group for mental health. They have it for drug and alcohol, but they don't have it for mental health. The other thing, staffing. Where the hell did all the workers go? I mean, everybody's saying that there's Signature Health, Crossroads, everybody, they're having trouble getting staff. So I don't know if that's something we could look at. I'm just bringing this out for everybody's attention. And then I heard the question, what's the point? And I'm starting to think about that in drug court at times. We started mental health court in 2004. We started drug court in 2010. We have a countywide jurisdiction. And what's going on is the National Association of Drugs, they're pushing treatment, but they're saying medically assisted treatment. And they're pushing it. You cannot get a grant or anything if you don't have medically assisted treatment. I don't want to see anybody suffer, you know, they're withdrawn and that kind of thing. I know that there's like a 12 or 14 day period, and it's the worst time of your life. It's like the worst, you guys know, you're in the jail, you see it. It's the worst flu symptoms you could have, it's horrible. Maybe that's the way to go, I don't know. So what they do with this medically assisted is that they give them Suboxone or something else. But what I'm really worried about, my gut feeling is that it should be abstinence. Why trade one drug for another? And what I'm seeing, and they're pushing this, and I'm saying to myself, why are we doing this? So I'm trading heroin for methadone, because they're starting these methadone clinics. And the problem I have with it is it's medically assisted treatment. Where the hell's the treatment? And that's what I'm worried about, because you're trading one drug for another, and you're not really helping that person. I know that one glove doesn't fit all. I've heard situations where, I just heard this from one of my staffing members. Judge, I disagree with you because I had two nephews. One of them did that. They weaned him off, and he's fine. The other one can never get weaned off, and he takes a dose of whatever he takes, methadone or whatever it is, and that's how he survives. I guess that happens, but I think abstinence is the way to go. I'm going to agree with Judge, and I'm piggybacking what you said. Any one of you can, and anyone can refer to the specialized docket. I think that's so important. 80% of the people in drug court that have graduated from our year and a half, 2-year program have not been rearrested. 90% of the people since 2004, 90% of the people who graduated from mental health court have never been rearrested. Okay, so gosh darn it, utilize us. Utilize us. I'm talking to common police department here too, and I've gotten cases, and we appreciate it. I have the velvet hammer in my court. You guys in common police, you have the sledgehammer. And what I mean by that, I can give them days or months. You guys can give them years, they can go to prison. And I have found that the people that you've referred us do very well. They do very well because of that sledgehammer. And so, please, utilize us. Send those people to us. I think we're very underused. My position on each one of those is we go up to 30 people. And it is just such a wonderful, wonderful experience when you see where they came from and where they were. And then when they graduate, I mean, even O'Donnell would cry. He'd have tears in his eyes when he'd see this stuff. So please utilize us. Remember, it costs 7 times more to incarcerate than it does to rehabilitate. The Sheriff's Department, you guys know this. 7 times more. So gosh darn it, use us. Use the Veterans Court. Use us. Thank you.
Your contact person for your court is?
For what?
Make a referral.
Oh, that'd be Jamie Dials for mental health, and then Dr. Dennis Michelson for drug court.
Okay. And then Lou Denny for?
Lou Denny, yes.
Okay, perfect, thank you. NeoCap.
So utilization and waiting list at the Mail facility, we have 125 beds, currently full. The wait list to get new placements into the Mail facility is around 30 days, but we'll probably be approaching 45 days. So between 30 and 45 days, we're able to get the men in. Female numbers currently today, I'm sitting with 44 women, so I've got 16 of them beds. I can hold up to 60. So when the women are placed, we can get them in immediately within a week of them being placed on us. So we're getting a much quicker turnaround than we're doing assisted silence.
Where are you guys at with medicated assisted treatment?
So we have some females that are on, and males as well. We have some females that are on MAT, and they work directly with their providers through monthly appointments while they're with us, and obviously those medications are monitored through their provider and has Secure Medical.
Any questions? I will turn it over to Kim Frazier.
Well, I would just say the one thing, Judge, is just a reminder that in terms of the medication-assisted treatment, the providers that we invest in, there is treatment associated with medication-assisted treatment. There are a number of providers of MAT throughout the county where it is just pushing drugs. So if you want to know which ones are kind of have the Adams Board accreditation.
We know, but I can't order them to go to one thing or another. They're going to the meth clinics if they can.
I've been doing it. I've been ordering them to go to, when they're on probation, I order an Adams provider. Because I can't vet all of these places, and I know that.
And they pop up, they kind of do their thing, and then they disappear, and they're dangerous. And I know that there's another one that's coming to Painesville, and I'm concerned about it because it's not treatment.
Right.
So it is scary. But other than that, we are waiting for the state budget to come out, find out what our state and federal funding will look like. We are in our proposal process. We have not voted on contracts for fiscal 26.
What does that mean? Am I putting you on the spot? Is there any contracts that this board should be concerned about?
Well, I can say that on advice of council, the board moved to postpone the action of our fiscal 26 non-Medicaid contracts with all providers until our May 19th, 2025 full board meeting or a special board meeting called by the board and publicly advertised. That happened at our April full board meeting.
So we'll leave it at that. We'll wait for updates. Any new business?
Has anybody heard about a petition statewide to eliminate qualified immunity at all levels?
Yeah.
Is there traction for it?
You guys better get on the stick and talk about how that's going to decimate the police departments. But it just got, Yost just got dinged on that, trying to hold it up, delayed it as long as he could from what I could see. But I imagine a certain percentage will pick up steam. Yeah. That'll kill police.
With Dave Joyce's office on it, and really need to create a platform for law enforcement, and I don't know if attorneys will be doing this, but at least a forum, if it does go on the ballot, that we need to have something out there explaining to voters that the repercussions of the loss of qualified immunity. As you say, the decimation of law enforcement
Be
that
a
will follow.
lot of cops will just walk, no question.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs Association needs to get prepared now, to be honest with you. And I was going to bring it up at the meeting, I'm not going to be able to be there, but we need to have a real solid plan in place for social media and our public outreach to really push that. I don't think people really truly understand what qualified immunity is. I think they all just figure, oh, cops can do anything, and they just get away with it. So, but it doesn't just affect cops, it affects the other people too, so.
But you can see with all these initiatives in the past half dozen years, those pass. So
Yes.
the messaging on the Contra side has always been insufficient. So you guys need to get on the stick on this thing early too, because this could be on in November. And
I think they needed 415,000.
they'll get them. They'll get them. I mean, they always get them. So it's probably going to be on there. But the alternative is so every police officer, if it passes, is going to have to get an insurance policy, right?
Yes.
In case they come up against it, or leave, one of the two. And so, isn't the county for the sheriff's department and the city for Mentor going to be on the hook to offer to pay the premiums on these policies to keep their cops? And then, you know, everybody screams that their budget is strained, and it's going to be a lot of money. It's going to be a lot of money and our loss.
But they are broadening it to all public officials, right?
I don't know.
That's what I was told.
That's what I thought.
That's what I read, a much wider loop.
I read something on social media on that, and it was all public officials, which I immediately thought about your corrections department as well as my detention department, because that's where you see a lot of litigation.
And, you know, it's not going to be, the language on these things is never very clear.
No, it's
So a lot of times folks who don't dig into it don't know what they're voting for. And so it's got to be a coordinated effort. And I haven't heard any, you would think, you would think that, and I know he's busy running for governor, but you would think that the AG would be the lead on this. But I haven't heard anything that's,
I'm gonna use
and
it.
it needs, I think it needs to happen now, because we need to get the people before they sign these petitions, because it never happens on all these initiatives. Nothing ever starts until like October, and the voting's already started, and it's too late. So it's got to
I'm
start
going to
now.
talk to the Buckeye State Sheriff's Association and a number of the other associations and see where we're at and get back to everybody. The other question out there, and I know you can't talk, but does anybody know is Crossroads being sold and who Crossroads being sold to?
I can tell you that the last communication I received was on April 10th, and it said, quote, Crossroads announced internally today that Crossroads Health is proceeding with due diligence with the centers, no letter of intent signed. This is an exploratory process that will take numerous months to complete. That is the last communication with the board.
With who?
This Centers.
Who's the center?
The Centers is a huge organization.
Out of Cuyahoga County?
Yeah.
That'll work out well.
Okay.
Any other new business? Motion on the floor to adjourn?
Motion.
Second. All in favor, say aye.